Unmuting. Good morning, everyone. On this balmy, windy morning Friday, happy Friday to everyone. My name is Chris Heck. I'm the president of the Airport Area Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to our breakfast briefing series that will focus on workforce and jobs in our area. This is our official kickoff, if you will, to our It's All About the People series that you'll be hearing a lot of throughout the year on job opportunities. And we're focusing on job opportunities that are specific to our area here in the airport area. So more to come on that, but I wanted to thank our friends. This breakfast briefing is presented by our friends at Pittsburgh Works Together, who you'll hear from Jeff Nobers in a few minutes, the executive director of the initiative that is a little over a year old now. And I'd like to thank Opticom Consulting, who specializes in telecommunication services, as one of our members for sponsoring. I will say this, just a little housekeeping item. Our power has been going off inadvertently for the last couple of hours. So if everything happens to freeze up, please bear with us and we'll try to get back online. And so we'll do the best we can on all that. So with all that said, just to lay a little bit of the groundwork on, as the lights flicker, sorry, in our building, lay a little bit of the groundwork for this. We took a look at what's going on from a timing standpoint in our country, if you will, but in particularly in our region. And if you take into consideration the pandemic and what it brought in terms of unemployment and hopefully that transition to new employment soon, and the development projects that are in place right now, and some figures are $10 billion of development projects that are on the books from Pittsburgh to the airport and the whole area over the next 5 to 7 years. There are significant opportunities for gainful employment in careers that you never thought that might be for you, for your children, for students, for coworkers and things like that. So we've put together a panel of individuals that are unique in what they represent. And I think you'll have a lot of fun in this conversation and learning about what those opportunities are and how to grasp those opportunities in maybe an unconventional way. So with that said, I'm going to introduce the executive director of Pittsburgh Works Together and the Builders Guild, my good friend, Jeff Nobers. Jeff, we've known each other for a long time, and I thank you for your time. If you want to kind of kick things off officially, be my guest, and we'll get back to the panel in just a few minutes.
Okay, Chris, thanks very much. And it's great to be here. Good morning, everyone. What I'd like to do is sort of set the stage for what the conversation is going to be. You know, the Builders Guild represents the union construction trades and the contractors that work in construction. And it's a labor management organization. A lot of what we spend our time doing is recruitment for the apprenticeship programs to ensure that we have an adequate workforce of skilled tradespeople throughout our region. And as we've gone down that road, you know, we saw some other things that made a lot of sense to us in terms of our mission and what we were trying to do. And that led to the outgrowth of Pittsburgh Works Together. And Pittsburgh Works Together is comprised, again, of our union construction trades and our contractor groups, but it also expands out to companies and other organizations. You know, for example, Pan American, who you'll be hearing from today, Pan American Water, is one of our members, along with companies such as CNX Resources and Range, US Steel, the Airport Area Chamber, Chris is on our board of directors along with Jeff Catula from the Washington Chamber. So we've tried to put together this diverse and broad-based group to address the issues of workforce and development in our region. And I think what became clear to us, and not that this should have been any magical revelation necessarily, is the interdependence between not just companies in a particular sector, but across all sectors of our economy, whether it's manufacturing, technology, healthcare, utilities, gas exploration, that these skills in many respects intersect. They are transferable to certain degrees between the groups. And, and I think that's where the three companies that are here today come into play, because you have a company that would be considered to be in the technology area, a company in the utility area, and then you have the Carpenters Union represented here, which trains literally hundreds of people a year through their apprentice program, and is I think, Tim, and you can nod yes or no, but I believe the Carpenters are the largest union from a member perspective in Western Pennsylvania in terms of pure numbers.
That's correct. We are actually North America's largest trade union.
Okay, so, there is, in the training center here, a lot of people have probably seen it driving along the parkway. And that doesn't do justice what takes place in there. This is every bit as technologically advanced. It's like a college campus. And many of the training centers are like that. And I think too often these debates break down into college versus, because let's face it, college is not inexpensive, okay? I had two kids go through college, not cheap. But I think what the deal is here that people have to really look at is college is appropriate in many instances. If you want to be an accountant or you want to be a pharmacist, you have to go to college. It's that simple. You need that type of degree. There's a lot of jobs in the technology sector, certainly in the utility sector and construction, where you don't need a 4-year degree. You don't necessarily need a 2-year degree, but you do need that professional and technical training to be proficient at what you do. And in generally, in the case of the trades, you don't pay for that. There's no cost for that training as an apprentice. So, these are very viable paths for people to take, regardless of, financial circumstances or desire or anything like that. It's really, and what we encourage kids to do is, as we talk to high school kids and even those that have been out of school for a few years, is find your passion, figure out what it is you want to do, then find the appropriate educational path to take to get there. In the case of many of our unions, you have a 2-year degree from CCAC when you come out the door. That's part of the apprenticeship. So there is, college credits involved in some of these programs as well. And I think, again, this is going to be critical for our region. We talk about growth, what our capabilities of growth are. The biggest impediment to growth is going to be a workforce capable of helping us achieve that growth. And, I think we've somewhat turned the tide on consistent population loss, but we're certainly not in population gain. So the challenge is, keeping younger people here, as they come out of high school or college, regardless of what that career path is, and also addressing the needs of literally tens of thousands of people who either lost their jobs as a result of the pandemic, or their industries have, significantly changed because of that, and those that are here that just have never pursued that opportunity, either through lack of knowledge of it or lack of understanding. And, in this context, we're talking about, a lot of the minority communities. In the case of the trades, women, there are constant efforts to recruit women into the trades. You know, the carpenters actually have a group called the Sisterhood, which represents, you know, within the carpenters, and that's the female members of the Carpenters Union. So, you know, there's a very consistent and honest effort to do that. So with that said, I think that's a lot of where, you know, we're going to take this conversation today. I know the members here on the panel are experts in their industries or their business. So I think you'll find out a lot of good information from them. So Chris, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thank you, Jeff. So I'd like to just briefly introduce our panelists, and then we'll begin the conversation. We have Gerardo Ateriano. Gerardo is with Aurora Tech, and if you're not familiar with Aurora, you should be familiar with autonomous technology, because autonomous technology in our area, in our region, has been grabbing huge headlines, especially with Aurora and driverless technology. So that's the space that Aurora is in, and we're looking forward to hearing from Gerardo. We have Jamie Devine. Jamie is with Pennsylvania American Water Company, and Jamie represents a whole diverse group of career professions within the utility itself, from IT to labor to marketing and sales and all that. And I think you'll really be surprised to hear about what some of those opportunities are with one of the largest utility that we have in our area. And then finally, Tim Chesleigh. Tim is with the Carpenters Trade and Training Center, as Jeff mentioned. Tim is also a board member here at the Airport Area Chamber of Commerce, and Tim is really hands-on when it comes to speaking with students and speaking with individuals about what their career goals are, and sort of seeing if there's a real fit with the apprentice program that is offered, that is one of the absolute best apprentice programs across the country to get involved in a trade that maybe is something that that individuals have had a little piece of all their lives, and now they're finding out that they can make a career out of making things. So why don't we just maybe start by going around the horn a little bit, and starting with Jamie. And Jamie, maybe you can describe some of the priorities that Pennsylvania American Water has in terms of hiring, just to kind of, 30,000 foot on the different opportunities that are available there. And so we can give everyone a little flavor of exactly what we're talking about. And then we'll go around and get into more of a conversation.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So Pennsylvania American Water is the water utility. We are the largest publicly traded water utility in the United States. We actually serve 15 million customers in 46 states. And in Pennsylvania specifically, we're 2.4 customers, about 19% of the population. And the priority as a company is our quality and quantity of drinking water. We're the only utility you ingest. So we want to make sure that when you're swallowing that water, it's very safe. And that leads to what type of employees we need, right? We need employees who are passionate about water, who are safety conscious. Our industry is prone with hazards. We work in all weather conditions. We work in the ground. We work with dangerous tools. So our employees really need to be aware and cognizant of what they're doing. We also really support an inclusive and diverse culture. So our employees need to be open-minded as well. That we embrace different thoughts, different people, different backgrounds, and our employees both embrace and accept and contribute towards that. And then, our employees also range, as you're saying, your opening comments, our employees range from having a high school degree to a master's degree and all things in between. As a very large water utility, we offer a lot of different jobs. In 2020, we actually hired 85 people, even during a pandemic in the state of Pennsylvania. And as of yesterday, we had 25 jobs posted in Pennsylvania that we're currently looking for. So our hiring has not stopped. And in fact, the water utility was very necessary during this pandemic time, as we are typically. So we're continually looking for employees. Our employees, we have utility people, we have water plant operators, we have supervisors, we have engineering, accounting, business development, human resources. We have a rates and regulatory. So we are a monopoly and we're governed by the Public Utility Commission. So we have to follow all the rules and regulations. And not only do we follow, we like to exceed those regulations. So it's very important that our employees also have really strong attention to detail. And also they're innovative, because we're constantly looking for ways to just do things better, more efficient, and that in turn saves us time and money for the customers.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Gerardo, I'm going to skip down on my screen to you. Would you mind doing the same? And welcome, Gerardo.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate joining the other panelists and Jeff and having this conversation. So a little bit about Aurora. So Aurora's mission is to deliver the benefits of self-driving technology safely, quickly, and broadly. To Chris's point earlier in the conversation, Pittsburgh really is the birthplace of autonomous technology. A lot of this technology came out of Carnegie Mellon, and a lot of the companies that are doing this work were founded by graduates of CMU and Pittsburgh natives. So from the very beginning, from our first day, we consider ourselves a dual headquartered company with our headquarters here in Pittsburgh as well as in California. To give you all a little bit of an idea of how quickly this industry is growing, I joined the company 2 years ago. We were about 250 employees when I joined. Today, we're about 1,600 employees. So it's a massive amount of growth. We have a large number of those employees here in Pittsburgh. And similarly to Jamie's comments, we have continued to grow and continued to hire during the pandemic, as those numbers hopefully reflect. But the really interesting thing about the work that we are doing is that it's not just engineers, right? Most people think about the work that we're doing, that it's all software engineers, that it's all 4-year or graduate degrees. And the reality is that it's not. We're hiring and we're creating jobs that 10 years ago didn't exist. Right, like we're looking to hire autonomous vehicle operators and autonomous truck operators. We're looking for folks that have CDL licenses. We're looking for autonomous technicians, who are the ones that are going to help integrate our technology into the different vehicle platforms. We're also looking for data professionals that take the data that our test vehicles collect on the road and then turn it into something meaningful that can help train our driver. Right, so it's not the perception that I think most folks have about the technology industry here in Pittsburgh, that it's all of these computer science, software engineers, but it's really a wide range of roles, along with the other traditional roles of HR and marketing and facilities folks. I mean, we have a large footprint here in the community, so we're certainly looking to hire all of those different opportunities. And Pittsburgh has been a key component of our growth. As we like to say, there's everybody who wants to move to California, and then there's the rest of the world. So for us, it's a competitive advantage to be able to have such a strong presence here in Pittsburgh, because the reality is there's a lot of folks that do not want to move to California to do this work. So for us to be able to give them that option to come here to Pittsburgh to experience the cost of living and the quality of life that Pittsburgh has to offer is truly an incredible opportunity for us to remain competitive in this space. So, Chris,
I love how you started, Gerardo, with Pittsburgh as the birthplace of autonomous technology. When we look at the conversation that we have a lot right now is, over the past 4 or 5 years, both robotics, advanced manufacturing, AI, and autonomous technology, those are the sectors that we're seeing on the technology side that are advancing, that have almost had birthplaces here as well. So it's great to see this new cluster that has formed in creating opportunities for just about everyone to participate in. It's really exciting. So Glad
No, I,
to be
I
with us.
appreciate that, Chris. And Jeff and I've had this conversation separately, right? Like part of the desire for us as a company is we don't want it to be an us versus them, right? Like we
Yeah.
very much want to ingrain ourselves in this community. We believe that that this community has been very good to us, and we're working with the city and with the state to be able to test our technology. But as a result, we want to be engaged and involved and work with organizations like Tim to understand like what does the labor community, who benefits from the growth of this industry as we continue to bring jobs and bring additional economic development here into the community to hopefully be a good corporate partner.
It's fascinating. And Tim, do you want to bring up the opportunities with the apprenticeship program?
Certainly. Good morning to all. Well, there is for certain a growing demand for trade professionals. And the Carpenters, like I said before, we are the biggest trade union in North America. And our mission is fair wages and good benefits with dignity in work and also in retirement. That's what we strive for, our organization. So our apprenticeship is a tuition-free 4-year program. It's registered with the state of Pennsylvania. Apprentices receive college credits from CCAC, and they earn a nationally recognized certificate along with those college credits as a journeyman carpenter. And all of this is a drug-free environment. Although we are a horizontal union, meaning carpenters are not managed by seniority. There's no ceilings to the carpenter trade. We're productivity driven, given equal opportunity and chances to every one of our members. This promotes mindset of excellence and ever present in this career is a prospect for improvement. You can move on to supervision. You can move on to construction management, and even as far as being a construction contractor owner. All those opportunities start with our apprenticeship. So we're trying to build the best of the best. And again, with our mission and our motto is to be the right business decision at the end of the day. And that's what we aim to put out here.
Tim, Jeff, I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but Tim, I know this answer, but could you just touch on some numbers for a minute? We've got the Royal Shell cracker. I don't know how many carpenters are on that job. We've got the TMP project here at the airport that is gaining momentum with the additional funding to restart that project that will bring over 10,000 trade jobs for a couple of years. And so currently, and I don't know the figures, but in our area right now, there are thousands of carpenters that are employed on projects that are working right now. And what does it look like over the next couple of years for that gap, if you will, that you know of? And Jeff, you might have a better insight that, hey, if we don't train another, 400 or 500 apprentices, in the next 6 months, we're going to be behind again. So can you share some metrics on what is open and how you're able to catch up to those numbers? Sure.
And just to touch on a couple of points you made, and then I think Jeff would have more of a broader perspective with the trades collectively. Right now, at this time at the cracker plant, we have about 1,100 carpenters going to work there every day. Some of them are from out of town. Most of the scope of work going on out there for the carpenter is building scaffold. A lot of people travel the country in search of that work. But I can tell you right here in our own local union for Southwestern Pennsylvania, we have about 4,100 members, and some are retirees, but including the apprentices and the active members, our unemployment is below 3%. It's very minimal right now. And when you touched on before, made the point of in the next 5 years, there's talk of about $10 billion of development coming our way. We're gearing up, if you will. We're always accepting apprentices, typically, not counting the pandemic. An average year would be about 150 apprentices accepted every year for our region, southwestern Pennsylvania. So that will continue, but a lot of people are retiring. They're coming of age of retirement, and we look to fill those seats with good prospective carpenters too, moving forward. So we're up for the challenge. We welcome the development that's being talked about coming our way, and we haven't fell short yet, but it will be challenging, that's for sure.
So thank you, Tim. I'm gonna throw it back to Jeff. Jeff, if you want to kind of maybe start the overall conversation a little bit with everyone, and then I'll jump back in a few minutes. But for everyone that's listening, number one, this is being recorded. So we'll be able to, if you request a copy, we'll send out copies of this so you can get it to whomever. And this is a webinar format, but there should be a chat opportunity at the bottom of the screen. I'll monitor that. If there's a specific question that you would like to ask any of our panelists, very specific to their industry and their the careers and jobs that are open, or maybe what are transferable skills or whatever it is, throw that in the chat, and we should have plenty of time to answer that. So with that, Jeff, if you've got the floor.
All right, Chris, thanks. Where I'd like to start, it's something we had talked about earlier, and I know it's been touched on here in the introductions. And we start with Jamie, and then work our way to Tim, and then down to Gerardo. Oftentimes when you look at the utility companies, certainly in the trades, Tim, there's a viewpoint that these are not technically skilled jobs that are available. They're more like a general laboring job, okay? Now, we all may know that's not true, but I don't know that the big old world out there knows that. So Jamie, why don't you talk a little bit about, just what those technical capabilities and some of that innate type of personality that's necessary to be successful, whether you're out there placing water lines or, troubleshooting a situation at a plant somewhere.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the question. You are correct. We are often seen as a hands-on industry where you don't really need to use things like a computer or a tablet. However, it's radically changed. And I'd say as a baseline for every one of our 1,100 employees in PA, they've got to know how to use a computer. We communicate a lot through email. We have several in-house apps that they use for things like daily vehicle inspections and checking off that, yes, I made sure my vehicle was safe today. Or we have a map call system that has the permits and the drawings and the sketches that they'll need to know how to navigate in there. And they also need to know how to interact with that software. A lot of our plants are automated, or at least partially automated, and that's there's a system that runs that. It sends alarms. They need to know, what does that alarm mean and how do I fix it? And then in addition to that, they also need to know how to go and check it manually as well. But technology is absolutely ingrained in almost every one of the positions at American Water.
Thanks, Jamie. Tim, I have the benefit of getting to visit your training center a lot, so I know what goes on over there. But why don't you talk about some of the technology, and it's not just commercial carpentry that goes on there. Sure. I mean, there are several other disciplines, and depending on that discipline, the technology demands are fairly great.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And the carpenters are really one trade with many careers. We offer apprenticeships in not only commercial carpentry, but floor covering, mill cabinet, millwrights, heavy highway carpenters. They're basically your bridge builders. You'll see on many PennDOT projects, and also the pile drivers. And our trade intersects with technology on a daily basis. The state-of-the-art technology that's applied not only out in the field, but also in the construction offices. These problems have to be figured out. The carpenters are instructed by professionals, not only in construction math, which is a lot of geometry and a lot more complicated than I remember from my apprenticeship, I know that, but also blueprints and the CAD training that goes along with that. There's been many times that I've been on a job site nowadays, I should say, and you'll see the foreman down in the earth, the hole for the foundations, the deep foundations and the heavy footers, and he'll have a tablet, he'll have an iPad in his hand, and they'll even go as far as to wear their hoodies with the pockets in the front, because that's where they'll keep their electronics and technology, if you will, because they're referring to that. There's not too many paper drawings anymore. It's electronic. It's technology, so it's going to improve our speed, our productivity, and we have to keep up with it. We know that. So yeah, it's really trained. It's a big part of the training, big part of the apprenticeship, and you can't just stand or sit in the back seat saying, "Oh, I don't need to know that. I'll be fine." No, you're going to be passed up, and we understand that here, especially with our training.
Gerardo, you're almost in the reverse situation, I think, as to Jamie and Tim, where there would be a general assumption, and you touched on it, that everybody that works at Aurora has got a 4-year degree, engineering, software development, so on and so forth. And you touched on this earlier, but obviously technology is still critically important for you as well.
No question about it, right? Like everybody is touching technology every single day, whether it's that you're joining calls via Zoom and laptops and in our conference rooms, or whether you're actually hands-on with our vehicles and working directly, with all the systems that we have in place. One of the programs that we have that we're very proud of is what we call Aurora Academy. And basically it's an opportunity for us to upskill all of our employees internally, right? So it is a program that has been created based on the various needs that the company has identified, where we can help upskill our employees. So whether that is an engineer that wants to learn a coding language, or somebody that wants to learn public speaking skills, or somebody that wants to learn more about labeling and the data side of the information that we collect. We've created a program so that we can bring folks into the business and help train them and upskill them, because honestly, there are soft skills that I think we all take for granted. But for example, communications, right? That is something that is so important to all of the work that we do. So we'd rather get in somebody that has some of those soft skills that are much harder to train on, and have us train them up on the things that we believe that we can do for them. So that program that we have in place allows us to really train folks for the jobs that we are creating for tomorrow.
I think as an offshoot to that, and while we're with you, Gerardo, why don't you just take this one up first, is, in terms of these career paths, what is the interchangeability, I guess, is the way to ask it. If I come into Aurora, as a, autonomous vehicle technician, where can I grow from there within the company? And what's that path look like for continued growth within the company?
Yeah, so I mean, we think about that a lot, right? If you come in as a vehicle operator and you familiarize yourself with the systems that are in place in these vehicles, and you're one of our test drivers that is out there. So every single one of our cars that we have on the road today has 2 safety drivers in it at all times, right? As we continue to grow as a company, as we continue to have more cars on the road, those are more safety drivers that we have, and similar for trucking, right? Like we've started to get trucks already on the road in Texas. We're looking to continue to expand and grow that, and we're going to need those CDL drivers as well. But the reality is that all of those folks have a front seat into what it is that the vehicle sees, what it is that our sensors see. And one of the next opportunities is getting into labeling and getting into the data side of how do you make sure that what the car is seeing is 100% true, every single time. You can also think about, some of the jobs that are coming, which are around teleassist and teleoperations, right? That those are the folks that are going to be able to help give directions and give instructions to the vehicles in the future, whenever the vehicle gets into a situation that maybe it doesn't fully recognize, right? But having somebody that has been in those vehicles in the past is going to be invaluable for our ability to continue to grow the industry and to continue to deploy this technology on our roads safely, quickly, and broadly, as our mission states.
Jim, I know you touched on this in terms of, there really aren't limits placed on you in the trades, regardless of the trade you're in. But certainly, with the carpenters, because of the nature of the variety of training, there are a lot of career paths for people. But I think it's like it's based on your desire and working hard. But I mean, would you say it's fair to say that anyone that works in or has been successful in the construction industry, especially when you think of some of our larger contractors around here like PJ Dick or Mascaro, and so forth. I mean, by and large, the people that own and run these companies started in the trade somewhere. And I understand, I think a lot of them did start with the carpenters just because of the variety of the training.
Yes, I agree with everything you're saying. And there's a lot of instances out there where our major master builders contractors, members of our bigger contractor association, carpentry is typically, or a lot of times, generationally passed down, from generation to generation. And you'll see it in these big owners too, where they'll insist that their family members that are up and coming go through an apprenticeship, get some life experience, and learn the trade. It's a trade you'll always have. So yes, it's a it's a feeling that a lot of our owners have, the value in the apprenticeship, and to take it from there. Some who are first-time owners came through our apprenticeship. So it's a career building comes from that also. So there's no ceiling. That's my favorite phrase in describing what the carpenters have and do as a member. There really is any, and of course it's what you put into it, like you referred to also, but no ceiling.
Jamie, so I come into, Pan American Water. Maybe I come in, on a crew that's, repairing lines or whatever. I mean, what's my career path from there, as I aspire to different things in life?
Okay, sure. So I can share just a real life example. Our current senior director of operations for Western Pennsylvania started in our maintenance department in West Virginia. Came in as a maintenance tech, moved into supervisor, moved into manager, moved into director, relocated to Western Pennsylvania as senior director. So 27 years with the company, and he worked his way up, and he did that through the opportunities that we present. We embrace growth and development for our employees. We support it. We encourage it. We'll help you get where you want to go. We have some employees that are really happy doing exactly what they're doing, and that's great. We need them too. And we have others that do. They come in the door as a utility person and they say, someday I'd really like to be manager. Okay, we'll help you get there. No problem. We have training and we have certifications, and we offer time and resources for our employees. So absolutely embrace in growth and development. And as I mentioned, we're in 46 states. So we often see folks that move around. I myself started in Hershey in 2012, offered the opportunity out here in Pittsburgh. Very happy that I took that opportunity. Worked out really well for me. And we see folks just moving around all the time. I like Tim saying there's no ceiling. There's no ceiling here too. If you want to be a manager, a director, a CEO, then join us.
Of course, I think there might be a question or two in the chat. I'm not sure if I saw that come in or not.
There is, and I think it's a very good transition here that we're talking about different generations. And my good friend Buddy Hobart from Solutions 21 recently wrote a book on the generation tsunami. So we have 5 generations for the first time that are in the workforce right now that are, looking to be managed in a certain way or led in a certain way. And if you look at those different generations, it's very interesting. So one of our attendees in the chat poses the question that Gen Z and younger have a tendency to look at a career with a mission they care about rather than just salary and benefits, okay? So how do we convey the mission and the positive impact on working in skilled trades and these unique positions that we're talking about, maybe advanced manufacturing, whatever it is, to these individuals? Anyone want to take a shot at that?
I'd like to just, with the carpenter trade, 99% of the time, the carpenter is the superintendent that's running that high profile job, if you will, that you see going up in the city of Pittsburgh. The carpenter is the one coordinating all the other trades. So what I would say to the younger generation, you become a decision maker. You become an influencer. You become the person that directs. When it comes to construction, you'll have the opportunity, again, everything you put into it, with what you put into it, you'll get out by becoming that decision maker. Maybe making decisions on green construction, maybe something else that might be important to what the question refers to. You'll have that opportunity if you take advantage of all the resources that are provided you.
I do want to, thank you, Tim. I do want to mention that we have a number of guests, a number of students from Robert Morris University on the call. We have some administrators and one or two students from Pittsburgh Technical College. So I'm sure they're very much interested in just this, because as the attendee who put into the chat, you are absolutely right. That salary and benefits, at least as the boomers used to look at it, that's pretty much what it was all about, right? And that they know that the salary is good, their benefits and salary are going to be competitive, but it's maybe independent, it's maybe creative thinking on the job, and and the mission is critical. So I very good points. And if any of the students that we have on the call would like to share anything, please go into the chat.
Chris, to that point about viewing it as a mission, first I'll say I've never talked to a kid of any age who didn't ask me how much they would make. I mean, they do all care what they're going to make. Okay, they need to afford that Tesla or whatever the case may be. But that being said, that is accurate. That the younger generation now, they look at it not just as what that functionary job is, but what are the impacts of that job or that career in a greater context. And I think one thing is we look at ourselves as a country now and forget what side of the debate of climate change and everything else you're on and fossil fuels. Okay, there will be changes one way or another. You may agree with some, you may disagree with some, but if you're of a mindset that you want to be part of moving the country forward and be a part of whatever this developing energy mix may turn out to be, or infrastructure, and not just infrastructure, but as we talk all the time, green and sustainable infrastructure. Gerardo and I have talked about, as autonomous vehicles, really begin to populate the vehicle fleet of this country, there are accommodations that need to be made technologically in our highway systems and so forth. So, if that's really your mindset, that you want to be a part of something that really shows change and shows progress as we move forward as a country, whether it's, through the trades, through Aurora, through Pan American Water. I mean, all of these companies and all of these entities, are addressing, where we're going and what are the skill sets that are going to be necessary to get there. Because, I'm sure, Tim can tell you when he was an apprentice, what they taught and what the skill, not that they were less skilled, but the skills they had to have were different. And the skills they need now are, much more advanced than what you needed 40 years ago. And why is that? Because folks like Tim, worked through that system and they were part of what changed, to lead us to today. I mean, let's face it, we don't build buildings the same way today as we did 30 or 40 years ago, both technologically and just structurally, in terms of the processes to build them. So, I think any of these industries, any of our companies offer young people that opportunity to be a part of positive change.
Jeff, let's expand on that for a minute. Let's just talk about transferable skills for a moment. I think that's important. We have a number of Air Force reservists on the call. Transferable skills, right? We have a number of, as I said, we have some individuals that might be thinking about a career change, and those skills that they have acquired over years are definitely transferable. So, not to get too specific, but I would be interested to hear from the panel if there are some general transferable skills that you might have. Those are the skills, and that's the conversation that you want to have with these, potential applicants or jobs. Tim, what do we had this conversation a couple times. When you interview and you have that conversation with a student or someone who's interested in your apprenticeship, you used to look at transferable skills like you used to throw a math test at them and say, okay, you better pass this math test, because if you don't, you're in trouble. What has changed, and what transferable skills are you looking for now?
Speaking of change, we use the word revamping our application process and acceptance process. We want to be sure now that the applicants understand the physicality of the job that they're getting into. Math is a big part of what we do as a career in carpentry, but highly functional, I like to use that word, and motivated. It's all what you put into this opportunity that could be presented to you. So we look for recognition of that also. But we want to be sure that we explain the trade to the applicants. We want to make sure that they understand this tuition-free apprenticeship opportunity that might be put in front of them. And when you mentioned the military, we have programs to assist, and Jeff could go on about this, I'm sure, bringing our military veterans into all the trades and the different programs that we offer to assist that process. So it's a physical trade and also a technical trade. So anything or any applicant with those type of experiences or skills, they're going to transition well into an apprenticeship.
Thank you. Gerardo, you want to touch on some transferable skills? I know you have multiple opportunities, but just some general skills that you look for.
No, I think it's a great question. And I have a couple of pieces of advice, at least for me. Somebody a long time ago told me, the three of the best skills for any employee are somebody who is humble, hungry, and smart, preferably in that order, right? The ability to work with others and to collaborate is something that is so important in the work that we do, right? Like we are constantly working with other team members. We're constantly working with our partners, with government, and that skill set of having the humility to be able to collaborate and work with others. I always tell folks, you know, I worked at Google for 6.5 years, and I would tell people the easiest way to not get a job at Google is to only use I. Right? If you show up and you talk about everything that you do and you don't use we, and you don't talk about your team, and you don't talk about how you work with others, it's probably not going to be a good fit for you. And somebody called me out. It is Lencioni. And then as far as being hungry, right? Like, we want people that are excited about the work that we're doing and that are going to be, you know, Tim used the word driven, right? Like, to us, driven is that same hunger, right? Like, we are focused. We want to set outrageous goals. That's one of our values. And we want somebody that's going to be willing and excited to be able to move the ball forward. But having that hunger and having that balance between that hunger and that humility is something that's really important to us. But I would say, you know, collaboration is key. And that's one of those skills that's going to transfer to any role and any job that you can imagine. If you can show that you're a good team player and that you can work well with others, that is a skill that will benefit you your entire career.
Jamie, what are your thoughts on transferable skills?
Thanks for the question. So first, I'd like to say, for all the active and veterans on the call, thank you so much for your service to our country. We do appreciate everything that you sacrifice and everything you do for us. As a corporation, American Water supports and invites veterans to join our organization. You know, once you've finished with your military career, we have a place for you, no matter what you want to do. And we often find a lot of transferable skills from the military to us. And we actually participate in a program called Hiring Our Heroes. And it's a great program. And we've had some candidates, and they've come in for their 12-week time with the company, and then they've ended up staying. And it's just a great fit. And it's great exposure for them to us and for us to get to know them and to really figure out what does work, what transfers over. And it's exactly what Tim and Gerardo are saying. The transferable skills are soft skills. I once had a manager tell me, you have the will, I can teach you the skill. So if you bring in the soft skills, and it's communication, attention to detail, teamwork, as has been mentioned, if you have those traits already ingrained in you, we can teach you to do what we do. You know, we've been in business 130 years, so we know what we're doing, and we need those that want to be a part of our culture. A lot of our employees are passionate about water, and as Tim said, we have a lot of what we call water babies, generations. I mean, my granddad worked here, my dad worked here, I work here, so absolutely, it just passes right down the line. And then there's a lot of pride in, my dad worked here, and I really, really want to make him proud of the work that I'm doing. Our vision statement about the generation: clean water for life. We have a 4-word vision statement at American Water, and that can be interpreted a couple different ways, but we want to provide clean water, and that sustains life. And we have a source water protection department. So not only do we clean the water, we try to clean it while it's in the rivers, you know, and maintain, monitor, and try and really mitigate some of the water that's coming in, so less chemicals go into it. So it just remains as a natural product. I also think community involvement, you know, for those looking for companies, look who's involved in their communities. What does that company offer for the community? Are they involved? Are they present? Are they helping out the people that actually live in that area?
Great. I'm gonna look at the chat here real quick and maybe combine 2 of them that are in there. And the next question that we had, and I can tell what generation this individual is probably from, but he's bringing up the question about sales. And he says, is sales a dying breed, and are sales professionals say reserved for just selling cars and insurance and the young? So the question about selling is, does anyone want to touch on that? Is that a transferable skill? I know the answer to that, but I'd like to hear from anyone. I see Jamie sort of jumping out at this one, because I'm assuming, and as a follow-up to that, it's a little bit different, but if you'd like to maybe just talk about some maybe mentorships that you're involved with, or that your company is involved with, or you personally are involved with. We have students here, so maybe, you know, between the sales profession and the possibility of some mentorships, we can discuss that a little bit.
Sure. Interesting question. So as mentioned, we are a monopoly. You wouldn't think that we're into sales, but believe it or not, we are. And in our world, we call that growth. And I'm sure, you know, I'm sure you see in newspaper articles that there are a lot of small municipalities and boroughs, and they have their own water or wastewater systems. They become very intensive to run and also very expensive. And sometimes, you know, they're trying to provide water to a community and they just can't maintain. And that's where we come in, right? We are a very large publicly traded water utility. We are the best at what we do, and we do buy those systems, both water and wastewater. So I'd say that sales, yep, absolutely. It's alive and well, and actually it's not just the few employees in that growth department, it's every employee. So if I happen to live in a community and I work for American Water, and I know that our community is struggling, then I can spread the word and say, let's explore that. So absolutely, I think growth is what we would call sales. Mentoring, we love mentoring. I think it's an excellent opportunity for employees, maybe new to the company, new to the work world. We have a new mentoring program, corporate fellowship with American Water, and it's actually a veteran mentor program. So we had some folks sign up both as mentee and mentor. And I really think that this new virtual world that we kind of all live in has opened the doors. My mentor does not have to live in the same city as me. It can be anyone from anywhere in the company, and I can communicate, I can see them, and that's really opened the door wide. We embrace it, we encourage it, and support it.
I agree with what Jamie said, and I'll just add one additional point back to the soft skills, right? I think the name of the role has probably changed, but the skills that somebody that has from a sales perspective are easily transferable to customer service, to government relations, right? Like they're people. And so I think any type of role that is external facing is going to benefit from the skills that somebody that has sales experience can bring to the table. So for us as a company, we don't yet have a product that we're selling, right? Like we're still very much developing that product, but we do have a partnerships team, right? And it's managing those relationships with all of our different partners that I think would probably be very similar skills to what somebody in sales is doing.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo the same there with Gerardo. I feel a good, successful salesman has a talent, and that's going to carry over to construction or just about any other industry. With us, we try to instill in the apprentice attitude, positive attitude, good attitude, team skills. You got to have a good attitude, and I think typically someone successful in sales knows how to portray that good attitude wherever they are. And when it comes to mentoring too, I get a little bragging, if you will, a program we started just 3 years ago, I want to say, where the journeyman or the journey person will take on a brand new or a newer apprentice. We call it the mentorship program, and we have our journey persons volunteer for this, and they stay in contact with a newer member, an apprentice, and it's really been paying off. And we're hoping that our program here in southwestern Pennsylvania kind of expands to the whole country. It's so successful. So we believe in mentorship also.
So I want to make sure that we're running a little bit up to a solid hour, which is great. I could have this conversation all day long. It's something I'm very passionate about because as a leader of this organization, as a father of 4 children, there's so many things that come into play here, and the opportunities for gainful employment in our region have never been better. So it's great. I'm assuming that all 3 of our guests have on their websites some career section, or if those on the call are more interested in learning about what those opportunities are there any strange URLs for your websites? Is it auroratech.com? Why don't we each give your career URLs to everyone and make sure that we at least have that as a to-do if there's anyone interested in following up with this.
Well, Chris, I would say the one thing that we do have with the Builders Guild, because we represent all the trades, if you go to buildersguild.org, there's a tab on the top for apprenticeships, and that gives you a drop down to all 16 of our trade unions and their apprenticeship programs. And as part of that section, so if you click on Carpenters, we give you a brief synopsis, but then the links to the Carpenters websites and their information are there as well. So
That's fabulous.
if you want to explore multiple trades and make some decisions on what seems to interest or suit you the most, you can go there and at least get that primary research done.
And if I could just add to Jeff's comments there too. I mean, the apprenticeship is our pride and joy, but also we spoke earlier of a career change for other adults that they might have the experience that could join the organization and go to work for one of our very reputable contractors and do the work of a journey person. That option is also there in the motto of career changes. We welcome and organize every carpenter out there to join our ranks. And our website is EAS, as in Eastern Atlantic States Carpenters.org, EAScarpenters.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And finally, Gerardo, what do you, I'm sure there's a career portal or something on your site.
There is. I just put it into the chat, so hopefully everybody was able to get it. But ours is aurora.tech/careers.
Excellent. With that, Jeff, is there anything to wrap up? Is there anything else that you want to touch on or anything like that? This is a great conversation, and I just in advance thank all of you for participating, for your time on a Friday morning. I know there's a lot of things on everyone's plate, but this is real important. This is important stuff to us, to everyone. I'm just going to say one more time that this is the precursor to 4 other workshops that are industry specific. That and Gerardo, we might ask you to come back on the technology workshop, but very similar to this, and Tim on the trade. So April 29th, I think, is the technology workshop of It's All About the People, and you'll see more about that. But if there's anything else that anyone would like to say or talk about, I think we've done a great job in keeping to our timeline and being relevant.
I think I'm good. I would just reiterate the one thing we said at the beginning, is that you have to find what you're passionate about and then pursue the right educational opportunity. To go to work every day and not like what you're doing is no picnic. And I think, those that have had to do that for some period of time can attest to that. And it seems trite, but you're going to get out of any of these careers what you put into it. If you don't have the desire, if you don't have the interest, you have to have that attitude to pursue and improve and advance. And I think Jamie made the point, maybe you want to stay in the same position, and that's fine because you need people in all positions. Doesn't mean you can't get better at that position. Doesn't mean you're not dedicated to that position. So I think those are the most critical components.
I'll jump in. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. And hopefully someday Jamie and Gerardo will run into each other and get to meet in person. But
wouldn't that be nice?
Thank you, and I wish everybody a great day.
Hopefully it's not one of those autonomous vehicles.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for coming. I'd like to again thank Opticom Consulting for their sponsorship. And of course, Jeff, Pittsburgh Works Together. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Everyone have a great weekend. Again, this is recorded. So if anyone would like to share this with anyone that they know, just send me an email. You know how to get a hold of me, and I'll be happy to send out the link.
All right, Chris,
Thank you,
thanks.
Gerardo and Tim, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.